Have you ever realized someone was looking at you in a way they absolutely shouldn't? It was supposed to be the happiest night of my career, my promotion party. The music was soft, the lights warm, glasses clinking all around me as people I respected offered heartfelt congratulations. I smiled until my cheeks ached. My husband was there, somewhere in the crowd, chatting with colleagues. My best friend stood by my side, beaming with pride. She was the one who planned the party, who insisted on making the night unforgettable. And then, there was her husband. He stood across the room, drink in hand, watching me. Not casually. Not politely. His eyes didn't drift like everyone else's, they stayed, held, lingered. It felt like being undressed without a single touch. At first, I told myself I was imagining things. But by the end of the night, I wasn't so sure. Something had shifted. And there was no unseeing it. My name is Rachel. I'm 35, a management consultant based in Chicago, and until recently, I believed my life was perfectly in order. I had a thriving career, a circle of loyal friends, and a husband who, for years, felt like my partner in everything. Daniel and I met at a leadership conference in Atlanta 9 years ago. Two young professionals chasing ambition, somehow managing to chase it together. We didn't have kids. Not because we couldn't, but because we never made space for it. Our lives were full enough with deadlines, red-eye flights, and the silent thrill of goals achieved. Then there was Emily. Emily was my best friend since sophomore year at Northwestern. She was everything I wasn't, spontaneous, magnetic, the kind of woman who turned heads without meaning to. Where I calculated, she danced. Where I planned, she felt. But we balanced each other, in that way opposites sometimes do. We stayed close through cross-country moves, job changes, messy breakups, and weddings. When I got married to Daniel, she was my maid of honor. When she married Jason, I was hers. Jason, Emily's husband. My boss. He became the CEO of our consulting firm 5 years ago. I'd always known of him, of course. Emily and Jason started dating during her final year of grad school, but once he stepped into the CEO role, our worlds began overlapping more than ever. I didn't think much of it. Jason was a commanding presence, sure, but he was professional, composed, the kind of man who always seemed slightly removed from the chaos around him. We exchanged pleasantries at company events, offered polite smiles across conference tables, and otherwise kept our relationship within the tidy bounds of my best friend's husband. Which is why what happened that night felt so surreal. Emily had insisted on hosting the party herself. She and Jason owned a modern, sprawling lake house about an hour outside the city, all clean lines and glass walls overlooking the water. When I arrived that night, the house was bathed in warm light, soft jazz humming in the background, fairy lights draped along the patio railing. Inside, the air smelled like citrus and something expensive I couldn't name. My heels clicked across the polished wood floors as people greeted me with hugs, laughter, and champagne flutes. Daniel was supposed to be right behind me. He'd texted from a work dinner, promising he'd join soon. I didn't mind. I was used to being the solo half of our duo at events. I told myself I'd mingle, keep busy, let the buzz of the evening carry me. But even as the night unfolded around me, I couldn't shake a strange sensation. Like someone's eyes were on me. And when I finally caught Jason looking at me, not in passing, but with focus, with intent, I felt something shift, deep and unwelcome. Something that made the room, the warmth, the music, feel suddenly different. I spent the first hour of the party doing what I always did. Smiling, thanking everyone, sipping slowly at my drink so I wouldn't get too lightheaded. Emily flitted around like a firefly, introducing people, laughing too loudly, already a little tipsy. Every now and then she'd return to squeeze my hand or whisper something into my ear like, "This night's all about you, babe," or "Look at you, total boss energy." And I would laugh, even though something underneath my skin had started to tingle. Jason hadn't spoken to me yet. But I knew he was watching. It wasn't just paranoia. I caught him staring 3 separate times, once from the hallway, once across the kitchen island while Emily filled a charcuterie board, and once through the glass patio door as I stood outside talking with a junior consultant. Each time, he didn't flinch. He held my gaze. His eyes didn't scan the room. They locked on me like a slow, deliberate question. By the time Daniel arrived, I was already too aware of myself, of the way my dress hugged my body, the way I laughed, the way I leaned against the countertop. I hated that I noticed it. Hated that I cared. "Hey, beautiful," Daniel said, appearing behind me with a kiss on the cheek. "Sorry I'm late." Client wouldn't stop talking. I turned, forcing a smile. "You made it. That's what matters." He handed me a glass of wine and looked around. "Nice setup. Emily went all out, huh?" "She always does." We mingled together for a bit, and for a moment I felt grounded. Daniel's arm rested casually around my waist. People moved in and out of conversations. But Jason kept drifting into my line of sight. Always at the edge. Always watching. Eventually, Emily pulled Daniel away to show him the upstairs renovations, leaving me alone by the patio. I stepped out for air, letting the crisp lake breeze cool my flushed skin. That's when I heard the door slide open behind me. "You doing okay?" Jason's voice was low, smooth. "Too careful." I turned slightly. "Yeah. It's a little overwhelming, but I'm good." "You deserve it," he said. "You've worked harder than most people I know. You don't take shortcuts. People notice that." "Thanks." I hesitated. "That means a lot, coming from you." He moved beside me, his presence heavy. "You looked powerful tonight. Confident. There's a light in you lately. People can't stop talking about you." I stared out at the water. "It's the promotion. Attention comes with the title." "It's not just that." His tone sent a ripple down my spine. I could feel his eyes on me again, but I didn't dare look. "You're different lately," he said. "Stronger. Or maybe, freer." I gave a nervous laugh. "Maybe I'm just tired." "Rachel," he said, softer now. "Don't pretend you don't feel this." My breath hitched. My heart pounded in my ears. I finally turned to face him. "Jason, you're married. To Emily. And I'm married too." "I know." He didn't look ashamed. Just resolute. "We don't have to do anything," he said. "I just needed to say it. You make it really hard to stay quiet." For a moment, neither of us spoke. The silence stretched thin. I wanted to be angry. Wanted to shut it down, storm off, report him, something. But instead, I just stood there, my hands cold around the glass, feeling a mess of things I didn't want to name. Because part of me had felt it too. Not desire exactly, but recognition. A flash of something unspoken. Something dangerous. And in that moment, I wasn't sure who I was more afraid of, Jason, or myself. The days after the party passed in a strange, muted fog. Work felt mechanical. I kept my head down, avoided Jason's office, and did everything I could to pretend that night on the patio had never happened. But I carried it with me, the weight of what was said, the weight of what almost was. At home, Daniel noticed. He didn't say anything at first, just watched me a little longer than usual across the dinner table, asked if I was sleeping okay, if work was getting to me. I told him I was just tired. He nodded, but I could tell he didn't believe me. It all came to a head one Thursday evening. I came home late after a long client call, dropped my bag by the door, and walked into the kitchen to find Daniel sitting there with his phone in his hand, expression unreadable. "Hey," I said, trying to sound normal. "Did you eat?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he held up his phone. "I saw your backup messages," he said, voice quiet but firm. "On the cloud. From Jason." The blood drained from my face. I took a step back. "Daniel, It was just one message," he continued, still calm. Too calm. But it was enough. I opened my mouth to speak, to explain, to lie, God, anything, but I couldn't find the right words. "He said he was thinking about you," Daniel went on. "Said if you ever wanted more, you knew where to find him." I lowered my eyes. I didn't respond. I didn't do anything. "But you let it happen." That broke something. He wasn't yelling. He wasn't angry. He was hurt, and that was somehow worse. I didn't let it happen, I whispered. I didn't know what to do. He caught me off guard. I never meant for anything to get that far. Rachel, Daniel said, finally looking at me fully. I've seen the way you've changed. You've been distant. Half here, half somewhere else. And I kept hoping it was just the job, the pressure, anything but this. Tears stung my eyes. I never cheated on you. You didn't have to, he said quietly. I think the betrayal already happened. In your mind. In your heart. And he was right. Because somewhere in the silence between Jason's words and my response, I had betrayed Daniel. Not with my body, but with my hesitation. With that moment of flickering curiosity. I had stood on the edge of something and almost stepped over. And in marriage, sometimes almost is enough to burn things down. Daniel stood up, walked past me, and paused at the doorway. I don't know what happens next, he said. But I think we both need to ask ourselves why this happened. And what we're really looking for. Then he left the room. And for the first time in a long time, I stood alone in our house and didn't feel like I belonged in it. Daniel and I tried for a while. We went to counseling, had long, aching conversations late into the night. We unpacked everything, our choices, our silence, the space we'd let grow between us. He was kind, more than I probably deserved. But something had cracked, and no matter how gently we tried to hold it together, the break was always visible. In the end, we separated quietly. No screaming matches. No slamming doors. Just two people who had once loved each other fiercely, now standing in the ruins of what they'd let slip away. Emily and I. We drifted apart without a word. I think she sensed something shifted. She was always more intuitive than she let on. I couldn't look her in the eye after that night. I couldn't be near her without feeling the weight of what I'd almost done. She never asked. And I never confessed. Maybe that was her way of protecting herself. Or maybe it was mine. Jason never followed up. Never sent another message. Never spoke a word of what he said on that patio. It was like it never happened, which somehow made it worse. Like a secret carved into silence. Sometimes I wondered if I was just one of many women he'd looked at like that. Sometimes I wondered if he knew exactly what he was doing, pulling strings just close enough to unravel people without getting his own hands dirty. I moved to another firm in the spring. Different team, different city. A small apartment with too much light and too few memories. It's quiet, and for now, that's what I need. Some nights, I sit by the window and think about everything that happened. Not just the message or the moment on the patio, but the years that led up to it. The slow erosion. The way you can be faithful in action, but absent in presence. The way desire, even unspoken, can live in the space between glances. I didn't cheat. But I let something bloom inside me that didn't belong. And that's the part no one talks about. Because sometimes, the deepest betrayals don't come from what we do. They come from what we almost did, and what that reveals about who we really are.